So if I look at this, I can't solve for if I look at the first one right here, I can't solve for this because I don't know what x is and I don't know what a is. So I'm gonna have to look at the second one. And I'm gonna go ahead and solve this. So I want to get a by itself. So what I'm gonna do here is I can solve for a by dividing each side by radical 2. So now I end up with 88, divided by radical 2, and now I have to rationalize this. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the top and the bottom by radical 2. And now we're going to get 88 radical 2 divided by 2. And I can simplify that further by just getting 44 radical 2. So that's going to be, now that's our a value. So now this is our a value. Let me put a equals right here so we know that a is equal to that. And now I can go ahead and just take a and plug it into the next equation. So that's what I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and just plug it in. So I get x equals, my a value is, let's put it in a different color, my a value is 44 radical 2. And I'm done. Right? I just needed to solve for x, and x is equal to 44 radical 2. Okay, so now I want to look at some examples for the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now when it comes to the 30, 60, 90, since you have 3 different sides, we're going to have a total of 3 different cases. We're going to look at the first 2 cases on this slide. So let's start with case 1. Now in case 1, this is probably going to be one of the easiest types of examples because you're going to be given the shortest leg, and we're going to see right now how that's going to make our lives a little bit easier. So just like we did in the last one, just like we did with the 45, 45, 90, let's have our our 30, 60, 90 formula written off to the side somewhere. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to correspond and match up all of the sides. All right, it doesn't really matter exactly how the colors go, just that they match up. So we start with the first guy right here. So my A is gonna go perfectly right, and we use the angles to kind of help us out, right? Opposite the 30, that's how I know that goes with A. Here's opposite the 30, that's how I know that one goes with this side, right? So then here's that guy. Let's erase this, it's gonna get messy. So then now let's we'll put whatever formula we get from that right over here. Let's take a different color. I like to do the hypotenuse in red. So let's call this the hypotenuse 2a, right? Opposite the 90. Here's my 90 degrees. So that means this has to be the hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and highlight those two. Let's put whatever formula we get from that right there. And then my last one is just going to be that medium side that's opposite the 60. So opposite the 60 is this side, a radical 3, which is going to go with opposite the 60, which is this guy, y. And we'll put the whatever formula we have, well, when we equal up the side lengths, we'll put that right there. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's create our formulas here. So let's go ahead and match up the sides. We're going to start with our blue, right? We have 21 is equal, that corresponds to the other side in blue, which is A. So look at that, done, right? So I said this one's going to be the easiest case because we're going to be given our A value. And if you notice, all the formulas in the, all of these side lengths in the 30, 60, 90 triangle are all going to be dependent on A. So now that we know A, let's go ahead and write the next equation out. So now I have x equals to 2a. Well, I already know what a is, so go ahead and plug a in. A is 21. So now I get x equals to 42, and I'm done. Now let's look at, in the pink, I've got y is equal to a radical 3, right? I'm just matching up the sides, y and a radical 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and just plug a in. So y equals 21 radical 3. And now I'm all done. I can go ahead and write my answers in. So x is equal to 42. That's one answer. And then y is going to be equal to 21 radical 3. And I'm all done. Let's go ahead and look at case number 2. So in case number 2, now we're going to be looking for the short leg and the hypotenuse given the medium-sized leg. So same thing. Let's go ahead and have our formula here. Okay, so there's our formula. We want to match up the sides. Okay, so now we're getting to cases where the triangle in our formula is different than the triangle we're trying to solve. So now we're going to have to be really careful at looking at the angles. So let's first get the small side, right? A, right? Remember, A is always opposite the 30. So find the 30-degree angle measurement in the other triangle. We don't see it, right? But we see a 60, we see a 90, so that means that this one left over right here has got to be 30 degrees, right? So let me just go ahead and write in my 30 degrees right here. This one has to be 30. And now we know that if that's 30, then this side is a side that's going to correspond to it. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Let's go to the guy in red, right? I know that I always like red to be my hypotenuse. So there's my 90, and it goes with the hypotenuse, right? Here's my 90, and now I know that matches with the hypotenuse. Oh, let me go ahead and create my places to put my formulas. So we'll put the formula in blue. We'll see if we can squeeze that in right around there. My guy in red, we'll go ahead and let's squeeze that in right around here. And then the last color we've got, so it's just the remaining side, right? The side opposite the 60. So opposite the 60 is going to be a radical 3. Opposite the 60, in this case, on the other triangle, is going to be 15. And we'll put those formulas right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our equations matching up our sides. So in the blue, I've got x and a. So here I've got x equals a. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So I've got x equals a. Then in the red, I've got y is going to be equal to 2a. Okay, nothing I can do there. So those first two equations, nothing I can do, that's okay. Then I've got the last one, which is 15 and a radical 3. So I've got 15 is equal to a radical 3. Now this last one, now I can solve for it here, right? I can solve for a by dividing the each side by radical 3. Actually, let's do it in a different color. Let's go ahead and divide each side by the square root of 3. On the right side, it's going to cancel out. On the left side, we're going to have to simplify that. We cannot have radicals in the denominator. So I'm going to have to simplify. I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by a radical 3. Let me go ahead and put the a on the other side. That way we can have the room to do it. So multiply the top and the bottom by radical 3. So then this is going to give me 15 radical 3 over 3, and we can simplify that one more time by just dividing, and I can get 5 radical 3. Let's go ahead and let me rewrite that below it. And I'll get my answer 5 radical 3, and then done. Right? That's the answer for A, right? A is going to equal to 5 radical 3. Now wherever I see an A, I can go ahead and plug it in. So now my equation in the red, go ahead and plug A in. So I've got 5 radical 3, which is just going to end up as 10 radical 3. So perfect, done there. Right, now I got my answer for y. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug in my answer to this guy. So I've got x is equal to 5 radical 3 again, and I'm done. And that's my answer for x. So there we go. All right, let's have a good look at the whole problem. So just to review what we did, we highlighted the corresponding sides, we equaled them to each other, and then we found one to solve for, right? We did the work to simplify it, and then we just plugged it into the other two equations. And that's how it's always going to work. Let's go ahead and look at the next slide, or the last example. In this case, it's in this case, they're giving you the hypotenuse, and now we have to find all we have to find the other two side lengths. So let's go ahead and look at our equation again, and let's match up our sides. So I'm going to go a little bit faster now. So A is going to be my small side, which will go with the small side here. Then I've got my hypotenuse 2A, which is going to go with the hypotenuse here, A radical 3. And then I've got my A radical 3 side, which will go with the X. So let's go ahead and create our equations here. So for the first one, we've got y equals A. Then for the second one, we've got 8 radical 3. We've got 8 radical 3 is going to be equal to 2A. And then in the last one, we've got, we've got x equals A radical 3. So I need to find which one I can solve for. The y equals A, there's nothing for me to do there. The x equals A radical 3 is nothing I could do there. So I've got to be working with that one right in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and divide each side by 2. All right, because I want to get A by itself. And then I can go ahead and divide 8 divided by 2 is 4. And I end up with 4 radical 3. And then I can go ahead and just plug that into wherever I see an A. All right, I see an A there. So now this becomes y equals 4 radical 3. Done. I see an A here, so I can just go ahead and plug it in. So I get x equals 4 radical 3 times radical 3. And now that's going to give me 4 times radical 9, which is just, with the square root of 9 just becomes 3. And we just end up with 12. So x is going to equal to 12. And there we go. Right, we've got, and then we've got y equals to 4. Whoops, that should be blue. We've got y equals to 4 radical 3.